My name is Tim Scott, and we are we're doing an interview on philosophy, and we're discussing people's morals and ethics based on any decision they make. And do they use God to make those decisions, or do they use their own personal experience? And we're going to be interviewing Mr. Derek Weber, Mr. Travis Morris, and Mrs. Lynn Ward.
Okay, if someone feels the law is unjust, are they morally obligated to do something about it?
Do they want to change the situation and world around them, their environment? I think that, because I mean that's the only way to get the environment you wish to live in is by affecting the changes, and not necessarily making the changes, but causing the effects, instigating the change.
So by instigating, say, how do you?
By speaking about it, by offering up suggestions to people that can make the change. See what I mean? So even though I have a silent voice, I can still make my voice heard through other people because of his lack of training and them giving him this authority position with a lack of training. And that's my opinion. That's
So yeah, so basically, like, another way to kind of look at this question, like from Zimmerman's standpoint, the way he felt that he was obligated to do something, as far as because Trayvon Martin looked suspicious or whatever, are you saying that you kind of felt like that because of his lack of training and not being familiar with how to deal with that situation, even though he kind of might have felt morally obligated to do something, he was inadequately qualified to do something? So anyway, my name is Brandon Halker. Philosophy class. This is Derek Weber. Thank you for your time, brother. Do you feel that the amount that you risk yourself, as far as whether you risk yourself, risk your health, your finances, or maybe put your life at stake, do you think that affects what you're actually morally obligated to do, as far as just for the right and wrong level?
Yes, because I think that's an extreme. My life, of course, is my own, and I'm obligated, first of all, to protect that. And I think from a right or wrong aspect, I use this example, there's a baby, maybe that's drowning. I would risk my life maybe for that child that's in trouble. So I do have an obligation from that aspect, being a father myself, being morally obligated on what's right and wrong. I would put my life out there. But then on the same token, being a father, it's not my life of my own now. I have children I have to worry about. So I have to consider that, even putting my life in danger. Now my children.
Because then everything else being the same, do you feel like us as individuals are more morally obligated to take care of our own, or should it just not matter whether it's a stranger, just for the sake of someone being a human being, period?
I think you have to consider yourself, just because you've been given this life and to live. So I think you have to consider yourself always first. But I think we do have an obligation as human beings to look out for one another. Wise proverb talks about consider others higher than yourself. So I think you have to consider other people as well too. But again, those are such gray areas because human nature is to protect yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think if someone's in trouble, there is an inward part of us that wants to help everybody that we can to a certain degree. So with that being said, I guess not going around about, I think it's first we need to protect ourselves and then consider, others in danger and things of that nature.
Do you have a moral obligation to people you don't know?
I think so.
How far does that obligation extend?
For me, it includes giving a pair of sunglasses to a stranger in McDonald's, along with some change, feeding some homeless people that I met on the street, helping my neighbor who was abused until she got out of that home.
So does risk change what you're morally obligated to do?
Not for me, because the moral obligation just outweighs it. Helping my neighbor to get away from an abusive home put me at risk. I have a job that puts me at risk by working with sometimes violent children who have a lot of issues. So no, I put myself at risk regardless.
He felt morally obligated to do something, and you see him sort of risking himself and maybe making him stand your ground and make a little bit of sense in that instance?
No, I think he was a wannabe cop, and they're the most dangerous. People who don't know their own limitations and go beyond them are more scary. I'd rather have him. That's what police are for, and the police told him to back off, and he didn't. So now, and stand your ground is just way too loose and vague, and that just means you can look at me wrong, and I can shoot you because you make me feel threatened, and that's just nuts to me.
We set out trying to figure out how people base their morals, and how different moral obligations can conflict with one another. So we talked about the Zimmerman case, because that's a good example of conflicting moral obligations. When we talked to people about it, we discovered that risk affects what people are reasonably capable of, and also a person's ability not only affects how they're reasonably capable of acting in a certain situation, but whether or not they can or should do something in that situation.